Hello YouTube and welcome to the very first Little Bixie Games review. Now I am using a brand new mic, so you might hear some different sounds. I'm actually going to try and get my thing, I've got it on. I'm using a studio type mic, so I'm just going to move it a tiny bit. I apologise, there shouldn't be that much noise, but I am using a studio grade mic, so if you hear any noise, obviously, I apologise, I'll try and cut it out if I can. Now, today what we will be doing is a review. So, this is the first review and I'm going to be doing it on The Last of Us. Now, I have got some footage over this, but I don't know pretty much where it is, sadly, because I had problems before where it was originally rendered, so if the footage is a bit off, if the footage is a bit off from what I'm saying, I apologise. This is recorded as a voiceover as well, if you're wondering. So in the footage, you'll find many things. We look at the main menu, obviously. We look at the Last of Us main story page where you've got your bonuses, where you can use in-game money. You don't have to buy this. You get this from doing missions, etc. And basically you buy in-game items with this in-game money, or this in-game currency as they use it, not real money, but you get the point. You can buy concept art, you can buy skins for Ellie and for Joel. You can also buy render modes as well, which I haven't actually tried yet. Another good feature of this game as well is that in the Left Behind, as this is the Last of Us Remastered that I'm doing this for, in the Left Behind DLC, you will find that you can connect to Facebook, and it actually has in the actual story Facebook prompts where you can, I think one of them is where Ellie and Riley, and I'm trying not to give too much away here to spoil it, is in a photo booth, and you can pretty much, you get an option to post the pictures to Facebook from the game. Now, if you're wondering, we're going to talk first about the main story. Now, the main story, I'm only going to tell you one mission. Now, before I tell you this one mission, so nobody starts moaning, spoiler alert. If you haven't played the game and you're planning to play the game, please skip to about 2 minutes ahead, or about a minute to 2 minutes ahead, and then we should be finished about the mission. I will actually tell you what the timestamp is in a minute. And basically, what happens in the first mission is you start off 20 years before the main events of the game starts, and when I'm not going to attempt to pronounce it, the infection starts pretty much, and you pretty much start off, you are in Joel's house. Obviously he's younger, and you've got Joel's daughter Sarah there. She was asleep. Joel comes in. She wakes up, and I think it was Joel's birthday or something like that, and she has a present for Joel. It's a watch, if you're wondering, and that actually symbolises other stuff in the story a bit later on. And basically, Sarah falls asleep, and Joel puts Sarah to bed. And then she gets woken in the night with a phone call from Joel's brother, or as she calls him, Uncle Tommy, to get her dad to pretty much talk to him now, and then the phone just dies. You then walk out of the room, and you can go into Joel's room, where basically he's got his TV on, and it says that there's been an infection outbreak, etc. And someone shouts on the TV bit, "There's a gas leak, we need to get out of here now." And then all you hear is boom, twice. You look out the window and there's 2 explosions, if you're wondering, they're gas explosions. You then walk downstairs, go on a bit of an adventure in the house, and basically you find Joel, and he abruptly comes in and says that a family in their neighbourhood is sick. Now, if you're wondering by this, it is the infection. I don't know how to pronounce it, so I'm not going to attempt to. If you're wondering, I'm just going to actually turn my tablet down. We don't get any sound from that. Oh, looks like I can't actually turn it down. There we go. Right. There we go. Right. And basically, it's the infection that they're sick with. Then there's, I would say, zombie breaks into the house, and Joel has to shoot him. Now Sarah starts panicking, and then they go out into Tommy's car, who's just pulled up outside. They then go through the town, try and listen to the radio, which is dead silent now, whereas about 5 minutes before that, there was news coverage everywhere of, as they call it, a disaster or catastrophic event. My apologies, that's what my mic came to. That sound was. And basically, you go into the town, and pretty much zombies try and get into the town. They get into the town. You drive pretty much past the bus and get hit in the side by a car, and the car flips. You then play as Joel after this, and pretty much you have to break the glass to get out. Go to get Sarah out, and she's broken her leg. It is assumed, but she has extreme pain in her leg. It's assumed she's broke her leg. So then Tommy, his brother, is on gun duty, pretty much to protect them. You then go through the town, pretty much try and escape, and Tommy says, "Go on without me, I'll catch up to you." You then go up. You go out the pub that you go into, and you go down to the hill, not the hill, on the other side. Oh, sorry guys, my apologies. And basically you run into a military or someone from the army, and they shoot the zombie, and says he said, not Joel, but the military person says, "Stand back," and radios in. Joel says they're not sick, pretty much, and all you hear, and I will quote as best I can from this, is, "But sir, there's a little girl." So the military person says, and the soldier, in fact, and he says, "Understood," and then he opens fire. Now Joel then obviously falls to the ground, same as Sarah, and he then goes to shoot Joel properly to make sure he's dead, and Tommy comes in and shoots the person from the army, the soldier, and then you find out Sarah's been shot. So you go over to try and save her, and Sarah then dies. That's a big spoiler, so that, if you're wondering guys, that is it for the spoilers for this episode. Now, I'm not going to go through most of the other bits of the story, but then I will just say, fast forward to 20 years later, where the main events takes part. And obviously, I think just after the first, the second mission, not the prologue, the second mission, you find Ellie, pretty much, which, if you're wondering, is the girl on the front cover. Now, we're trying not to give too much away. Ellie and Joel's relationship as like friends and stuff like that is very rocky at the start. They both didn't like each other, and pretty much, as the story goes on, they both start to care for each other until, can't remember the mission, it's, I think, 6th, 7th mission, near the end it is, and they basically have a heated argument, and it's then obvious that they don't care for each other in that way, but they care for each other like a father and daughter relationship. Now, without giving any more of the story away, pretty much, it does get very interesting, the story, and I've got to admit, it's a masterpiece. The story is how in 3 years they managed to write something, make it, and get it into a game. Astonishes me, and literally, it's just an outstanding story, and like the relationship of it, like how the Joel and Ellie stick together more, and then without spoiling the end, what happens in the end. It really is very, very good, and I've got to admit, brilliant it is. Obviously, if you're wondering as well, we will talk about the graphics, controls and stuff for the whole game in another bit near the end, pretty much. It's very good written, as I said. The sound development is brilliant. Sound design, as most people class it as, is brilliant. How like the sound is different, etc. It's a very emotional game, I gotta admit. It's one of the only games that actually made me cry at the ending, and about 2 or 3 times for the whole game. And that's not including Left Behind DLC as well. For the main story, pretty much, I would give The Last of Us Remastered, and technically The Last of Us as well, a 10 out of 10. It deserves it for that, because that was just a masterpiece. Now, we need to get onto the Left Behind DLC. Now, the Left Behind DLC is about Ellie, pretty much, and before she got bitten, spoiler alert, and pretty much, you probably gathered that, if you've read a bit about the game, especially if you've read the comments. I will try and put a spoiler alert text in for you guys, so don't worry. Basically, it tells the events of what happened with Riley, pretty much, and then how they got infected. It also tells and fills in the blanks of some parts of the story, the main story, without giving it away. That obviously doesn't involve Riley, which I'm not going to say why it doesn't involve her, because that will give some of the story away. And pretty much, it goes through like how pretty much it's very difficult to explain, but it goes through how like Ellie and Riley pretty much what's the word I'm looking for, go through the more on their relationship. It also, I'm trying to say, it does give away a part with Joel and Ellie, which is from the main story, and it does tell you about that. Which you actually find there's a symbolism to why they, at the end of this, and spoiler alert, of why they've done it, like the 2 halves of it. And you actually find out at the end that, because one part of it, and a spoiler alert again, one part of it you actually go through a bit that's flooded with trucks in, and then the other part you actually find out that is actually where both places is set. They're both set in the same mall, because at the end of the Ellie and Riley bits of the game, the DLC, sorry, you actually go through the same room, obviously beforehand, that you will go through in the Ellie and Joel part of the game, DLC. With the connect feature as well for Facebook, which is mainly on the Left Behind DLC, brilliant feature that is. Again, the story like in the Left Behind DLC, it's short, but it's very, very good, and it does fill in a lot of blanks for people that with the main story, because some stuff that actually happens in the Left Behind story is actually mentioned, or actually pretty much mentioned really in the main story from Left Behind, and vice versa. Pretty much some of the stuff that's mentioned in the main story is actually in Left Behind, and there is a few bits that's actually in the American Dreams comic, which I've actually read, which is again very, very good, but I won't be reviewing that today. Now we're going to move on to the controls. The controls are brilliant. Now obviously on the PS4 you've got DualShock 4. I do know when your light starts to run out of charge, you can actually shake the DualShock 4 and it actually recharges your light. As well, the light bar on it, it's brilliant. It tells you if you're green, which means you've got pretty much full health. Yellow means you're lower than that, or you're really injured, or not really, but slightly injured. And red means you need health, pretty much. The controls are very good. They're very smooth on the PS4. Now, bearing in mind I haven't played the PS3 version, so I can't vouch for that. The controls are very, very smooth on there. For the controls, again, I would give it a 10 out of 10, because the way, especially on PS4, in fact, the way they managed to leverage the power and what the PS4 can do is brilliant. Now we need to move on to the graphics. Now the graphics are outstanding on the PS4. Now, I am going to talk about this quite a lot. Now, if you don't know, and I don't know if there's any more games, I don't think there is. Now, on The Last of Us on the PS4, it runs 1080p 60 FPS unlocked. Now, obviously 1080p is locked, but the 60 FPS is unlocked, which means it can go up and down. Sorry about that, guys, that was my thing. Anyway, yeah, it's unlocked, so it can go up and down. Now, there is actually, and this is the first game I've actually seen do this, an option where you can lock the frame rate at 30 and have better graphics. Now, I take my hat off to Naughty Dog for this, and you can actually hear me clapping, not brilliantly, but I take my entire hat off to them. It is such a brilliant idea, and I think that should be the standard for games on the newer consoles. Maybe not the Xbox and the Wii U, or vice versa even, or maybe not the PS4 or something like that. I think personally, if the console can't output 60 FPS, then don't put 60 FPS on them. But if there is a potential, if you lower the graphics on that console to output it at 60 FPS, I think it should be on there that you can actually choose to have it locked at 30 instead and have better graphics. I think all games should have that on the newer consoles. Obviously PC, most games have the FPS, but obviously they have their graphics increases. But I think the newer consoles should have that as a standard. It's a brilliant idea. I've played it in both modes, if you're wondering. The gameplay is not in 30 FPS mode, it's in 60. I played it in both modes and they're both outstanding. And I would honestly, I'm going to throw this out there, that I would say that Last of Us in 30 FPS mode, other than the frame rate at times, well not really, but other than obviously the frame rate's lower, the graphics of The Last of Us on 30 FPS mode looks like a PC game. It's only that it's a PS4, only that it's a PS4 exclusive. I would say the graphics on 30 FPS mode looks like a PC game. And I'm not saying that's not the same for 60, but I would say more on 30 FPS locked mode. For the graphics, again, I've got to give it a 10 out of 10. I just cannot fault it, really. It's such... the graphics are amazing for a console game. Compared to like a PC and stuff like that, I would say it's on par with some PC games. The Last of Us is. And it's rare in some perspectives, you'll hear me say that. Now we are going to talk about the multiplayer. Now the multiplayer, I've had quick little goes at it, and what I could say is it's good, very good, but I think there's little improvements, not horrendous. It's a very, very good multiplayer idea. I think there is little improvements, like if you want to like keep the fan base in a bit more, maybe if there is a sequel, which I will speak about a bit more later on in the video, if there is a sequel, I think you should make it as it does it in real time, so not like the days, I mean, and weeks, because in the actual game on The Last of Us Remastered, or The Last of Us, you actually find on the multiplayer, it actually does in-game time, so once you do a match in-game, an in-game day goes. I think it shouldn't be like that. I think personally they should put it as once a real life day goes, a day goes. So it's like more realistic in some perspectives. Now I understand why they've done it like that, but I think adding that would keep the player and fan base into the game. And I'm not saying that I'm not saying that there's a little fan base that play the game because of that like one thing, but it would give more, if they're based on multiplayer, people are, give more an incentive for, even if it's every day, going on to check that, do that, etc. Now obviously that's different with a single player because there isn't like that, but again, multiplayer is brilliant though. Other than that, it's controls, how it works with the supply raid, which you should see in the video. The supply raid, the interrogation, and I think survivors modes are brilliant. Customization is very good, and the gear up section, which is basically gun customization, brilliant. And how they've done the point system, an excellent idea. And as well, how in game you can buy guns, etc. Brilliant, I've got to say. For that I think for the multiplayer I'll give it a 9.8 out of 10. Because of that one thing, it might just be me being me pretty much, but I would give it a 9.8. Now, now we're going to talk about sequels. Now, do I think there'll be a sequel of The Last of Us, and obviously The Last of Us Remastered? Yes. But I hope and I pray, if they make sequels for The Last of Us, there's two things I would hope and pray. One thing is they don't go stupid. They don't go like Call of Duty, which is like, I know Call of Duty does annual and stuff like that, but they don't go, we're going to do 15 games on pretty much the same, not pretty much the same game, but a similar game. I know some people will disagree with me with that, but I don't want it to turn into like, you're going to say in, let's say, 10, 15 years time, oh, we're on The Last of Us 20 or The Last of Us 15, because that's way too long. I think there should be a sequel, whether they only do 2 games in total, The Last of Us and The Last of Us 2, or whether they do 3 or 4. I don't think personally they should go above 5 games. I think personally, maybe once, if they do up to a 5th game, they should go after a 5th game. They do like even if it's a downloadable game, but smaller games that says like other things about the stories, like in The Last of Us, like what happened with Sam and Henry before they met, which is someone in the actual story that you meet. I'm not going to say much more about that because it will give away and spoil it. I think they should do something like that as well. Now, if they do make a second one, I think, now, it's hard to say. I think they shouldn't keep both Joel and Ellie in it. But I think, in some perspective, I'm not saying Ellie should find out about what happens in the end of The Last of Us. I think they should show Ellie that more grown up, or like Ellie caring for Joel, or vice versa. Or you see what I'm saying, like Ellie more grown up if she becomes independent more. Maybe even like the death of Joel if he dies, because you got to remember he's quite old. I think he's about in his 40s. I could be wrong, but I think he is. But I do think, and honestly, this is from the bottom of my heart, I do think they should do a sequel. I think it wouldn't, and it would be a waste. It would be a waste because, yeah, they could get, and I'm not saying they recycle the same thing. They could get 2, maybe 3, maybe even 5 games at the most, I would say, of it. And I'm not saying that in a money-making perspective, but to like show off other aspects of the game. Like I saw on a YouTube comment as well, like someone said, why don't they show like the years before the main events of the game? So like after Sarah's death, the 20 years before the main game starts on The Last of Us, and stuff like that. I would say yes, they should make a sequel. So now we're going to talk about, should you buy it? And obviously my final thoughts. Should you buy this game? Damn right. If you ever get the opportunity, if someone offers you to play this game and you're allowed to play it, I would say it's an absolute masterpiece. And it baffles me, and I am actually just moving my foot, so if there was any air bit, but it baffles me how, especially for the remastered port, or not port, but the remastered, how they managed in such a short time to get such a masterpiece out. And I would say personally, and I don't want anyone to take this the wrong way, I would say personally Grand Theft Auto 5 doesn't deserve as much as The Last of Us, like what it had. Because if you look at the difference, like, and I know I'm going off a bit, but Grand Theft Auto 5 is made by Rockstar and Take-Two. Take-Two and Rockstar are a multi-billion-pound company, pretty much. And Naughty Dog nearly went bust on the PS3. When the PS3 released, they nearly went bust. They nearly said that was it. Because they were struggling like how to develop for it. And then all of a sudden they turned it around. I think I can't remember what Uncharted. I think it was Uncharted 3. And all of a sudden they managed to bring out 2. I think Uncharted 3 was 10 out of 10. I will actually put an annotation here. Now you will have noticed off topic a bit that it has gone to a black screen. Don't panic, that's not from the game, I've just run out of footage. Pretty much like how, back on topic, that Naughty Dog managed to get out two brilliant games, and I'm sure that Uncharted 3 got a 10 out of 10, and how they managed to have two games like this and turn it so around and make pretty much box office smashes of games. And by that I mean in a good way, that they made an amazing masterpiece. It baffles me, but I understand, because Naughty Dog, like other ones, and I know Naughty Dog was independent before and they're now owned by Sony, so you'll probably find you won't see many Naughty Dog games on other consoles, but how they managed to polish such around, and in my opinion, as like the case says, it's the game that defined the generation on the remastered one. I think personally, without The Last of Us, and I know, yeah, this slim PS3, I know I'm going slightly off topic, but the slim PS3 turned the PS3 sales around. I think without The Last of Us, the PS3 would have got third, maybe fourth. I don't think it would have done as well as it did. And the same with like Uncharted 3. I don't think it would have done as well as it did. But now my final thoughts. As I said, should you buy this game? Yes. It's an absolute masterpiece. Even if you buy it on the PS3 or you buy it on the PS4, and even if like you are in either the closed beta for PlayStation Now, or you get PlayStation Now and you buy the PlayStation Now version, any way you can buy it. It's such a brilliant game, and like and this was one of the first games I actually bought the soundtrack for on iTunes. Now I think from the Battlefield one I bought it, I can't remember, I bought the Battlefield one, I think Spoffy, is it how you pronounce? I bought it somewhere else, I think. I can't remember fully. And the Call of Duty Ghosts one I actually got from my hardened edition of Call of Duty Ghosts on the 360. But it's such a masterpiece of a game, and like the soundtracks, the graphics, everything. It's such a masterpiece with this, like the sound design, the graphics, and I think honestly, more games especially need to go off as well how The Last of Us Remastered have the 30 FPS and the 60 FPS option. More games need that. If you, and like this is mainly for Sony and Microsoft and Nintendo, if you want to be unique, you want to try and get, even if it's that extra bit of work on it, even if it's only an exclusive titles, you want to be able to say, we've got that option. We can let our players choose the graphics, or the frame rate, or graphics and the frame rate even. And like, I understand some people are saying, well, if they're giving the 30 FPS option, people will start thinking, oh no, it's not going to be able to run at 60. And what you've got to remember is people, and I'm not saying The Last of Us can't run smoothly at 60 FPS, because it can. It does have the odd drop, but it can run smoothly at 60. But what you got to remember, and like I think I've detailed this before, so I'm only going to say it very quickly, is people are trying to push the newer consoles too far. Because like with the PS4 especially, and they found this out with Advanced Warfare, they thought because Call of Duty Ghosts at a 1080p 60 FPS, like that it will be able to do it. It'll be able to do it on the newer one. And like the Ghosts graphics wasn't as good, because it was, I would say, other than the resolution, the Ghosts graphics was a bit like last gen graphics. And then Advanced Warfare, they do it stupidly like PC graphics, and they expected it to run brilliantly, fold like 60 locked, 1080p, and it just couldn't, because it's pushing it too far. You can't. It's like saying, get something like Call of Duty or something like that, like, or Call of Duty, or even The Last of Us and something like that. You try and put it in a PS2. For a start, it won't read the disc, but if you try and like get, without editing it, but making it like the PS2 read the disc, making sure it could, like thinking, oh yeah, it's gonna run on that console, you just can't do that. Or like vice versa. It's like trying to say, it's difficult to explain, but it's like you can't expect one year to have brilliant graphics and brilliant resolution and frame rate, and not as great graphics even. And the next game, I expect to have brilliant graphics, brilliant frame rate, and brilliant resolution. It's just impossible. And honestly, and I don't mean to take this the wrong way, and I support the consoles. I'm not saying I'm a fanboy, but if you want that brilliant graphics, that brilliant frame rate, that brilliant resolution, go and buy a PC. And I'm being honest there, guys. And I know some people can't afford to, but that's what it is. Like, what you gotta remember is compared to that, and I'm not a fanboy here, guys. I honestly, as you know, with the PS4, I have an Xbox One, a Wii U, a PS4, the handhelds of this generation, and obviously a PC. But you can't expect it because a console is made and it can't be edited. It's very rare that you'll find an upgraded version of a console. I don't think it's ever been done, in fact. So let's get back onto the topic. My final thoughts on the game: yes, get it if you can. It's a masterpiece, and my final score would be a 10 out of 10. It's just a masterpiece, and how they managed to do it in such a short time. Naughty Dog, brilliant game. Again, as I said, if you get any chance to play it, play it. It's such a brilliant game. And I know after playing it, I know you might be skeptical at first, guys, and I was at first of buying it, why it got 10 out of 10s, but once you'll play it, you'll understand why it got such 10 out of 10s. It's such an emotional game. But on that note, guys, I'm afraid I'm going to have to end there. So I am going to say, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Cheers!